Both bootleg figures and SAO are widely considered as trash! But hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day. For almost 5 years ago, I watched SAO so I could have an opinion on it. I think I finally figured out what I think about it. It's the anime
equivalent of Taco Bell. Looks okay on the surface, but for the love of God, don't think too hard about what's inside.
And when it comes to bootleg Figmas in particular, there's a lot of horror stories. Some supposedly disintegrate right as you pull them out of the box. Others have extremely bad paintwork. But despite all of this, I managed to get pretty lucky with this Kirito knockoff. Now don't get me wrong, there is plenty of jank here to go around. But I feel that in this case, it's a fair trade considering the much lower costs compared to a genuine figure. Now, quick disclaimer here, your mileage may greatly vary with these bootleg figures. One of the ways they keep the cost so low is having little to no quality control, which is why buying a bootleg figure is a bit of a roll of the dice. That having been said, let's open this up and take a look at how you can tell this figure is a bootleg. The first and most immediate sign is there's no holographic sticker on the box. There are plenty of official Figmas that don't have holo stickers on them, which is what makes this detail tricky. Had I known that Figma Kirito comes with a holo sticker, I probably wouldn't have gotten bootlegged. The bootleg also didn't come with a circular seal sticker on the outside, but rather had tape around the clamshell. Other than that, the main signs of it being a bootleg were internal rather than external. This figure comes with everything the official does. The swords, the effect parts, holsters for the sword sheaths so they can fit on Kirito's back, a stand, and of course the alternate faces and hands. The first thing that tipped me off to the fact that this was a fake is that the stand base has no Figma logo. This is alright. It was a bit loose out of the package, but fortunately you can tighten it up with a screwdriver. Also, I can't think of a single official Figma stand that has these bubbles. Oh, and this? Don't mind this. It's just his neck assembled backwards. No big deal. And they also... they put the back of the box in upside down. Classic Chinese shabudoa. When I first pulled them out of the box, the joints were so rigid it felt like I had to apply enough force to break him in order to move the joints. But after that, they started moving relatively smooth. Oh no. Another small issue is that the faceplate is a little bit looser than a typical Figma's faceplate, although the hair tends to hold it in place, so that's not really that big of a deal. The paintwork on this figure is definitely a step down from an official Figma, but at least in the case of Kirito, because so little of the figure is actually painted, it's not that big of a deal. However, what is painted can be a little sloppy. The biggest offenders are probably the sword sheaths and the hands. Especially when you compare it to an official, the paint is just all over the place. And if you look closely, Kirito's face looks more like raw plastic, whereas an official Figma's has a more matte finish to it. Going back to the sheaths, there can be some issues getting them in and out of the holsters. It's not impossible, wiggling it seems to help, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. One major issue with the effect parts is, while the teal sword fits nice and snugly, the black sword just kind of slides in, so it doesn't really hold on to the effect part at all. And another thing is that the figure's wrists are just too weak to support the effect parts. Despite this, you can still pull off some pretty dynamic poses with these. Now, I have no idea if some of these issues I've talked about here are specific to the bootleg, or if they're also present in the official version, as I don't have an official version to compare it to. I would think though that this bootleg is basically the same size as an official though. For reference, here's Revoltech Gunbuster, Figma Samus Aran, the Transformers masterpiece Soundwave, and the subject of the next bootleg review, Asana. As for the final verdict, this bootleg manages to be a fairly good substitute for the official Figma. If you don't want to drop $100 on an official one, this gets most of the way there for much, much cheaper. However, just because I got lucky doesn't mean that you will. Not all bootlegs are made equal, however. In the future, I do plan on reviewing more bootleg products. You could be surprised, so stay tuned.